In this lesson we're going to look at the process of simple distillation. Now we can use simple distillation when we want to separate the components of a mixture that have very large differences in boiling point. Okay, so here we've got a schematic for simple distillation. We've got the flask here, which is containing the mixture. Now this mixture could be a solid dissolved in a liquid, or it could be a liquid dissolved in a liquid. We'll find a suitable example in a minute, and this part of the apparatus is known as the condenser. Okay, so let's suppose we've got some seawater here. That's a mixture of salt dissolved in water, and we want to obtain pure water from this mixture. Well, as we've just mentioned, in order to separate these two substances, there must be a relatively large difference in boiling points. Okay, so as you well know, the boiling point for water is 100 degrees Celsius, whereas the boiling point for salt is 1413 degrees Celsius. So there's a very big difference in boiling points here. So there'd be absolutely no problem at all separating the water from the salt water mixture in this case. So basically what happens then in the process of distillation is we heat the mixture, and it will be the substance with the lowest boiling point which begins to boil and evaporate first. So we've got that lowest boiling point substance boils and evaporates first. What's going to happen is the water will evaporate and it will gradually pass up the column of the flask, and then it will pass down through the condenser unit, and the condenser makes use of a flow of cold water entering in one end and coming out the other, and that will help the water vapor to condense, and that will then collect in our collecting vase here. And so using simple distillation, and with this very large difference in boiling point, we're going to obtain pure water here. None of the salt in this solution will be able to evaporate into this flask. Now then, if we were, for example, to try a different mixture such as water and ethanol, for example, instead of salt and water, well, that would be different altogether, because in this case the boiling point of ethanol is 78 degrees Celsius. So now the boiling points of the two substances in the mixture are quite close to each other. Now in this case what would happen is that the ethanol would start to evaporate first, okay, and it would pass up the tube and be condensed in the condenser, and you get ethanol collecting here. But you wouldn't just get ethanol evaporating, because water is quite close to ethanol in boiling point. There would be water evaporating too. So what's going to happen is you're going to get both substances evaporating and condensing and collecting in the collection jar. What would happen is that you get a much larger concentration of ethanol here than water, but you'd still get water present. So you would not be able to obtain pure ethanol using this simple distillation process. Now, when we want to separate substances which have quite close boiling points, such as ethanol and water, then we have to use a different type of distillation known as fractional distillation, which we'll look at in the next lesson.